So, for those of you who just tuned into this channel for the very first time, Global Citizens is a show whereby I hosted third culture kids such as like Talu and myself, along with expats, nomads, and cross-culture kids. So individuals who spend their life abroad, either working or growing up there. The reason being is that when you want to visit a country as a tourist, you are there as a visitor. Uh, it's a brief period of time, so on whether you will learn their culture, but it's not the same as when you are living in that new culture. So that is why this show tend to focus on this kind of experience. So Talu, if you don't mind, maybe share a little bit more to the audience about your TCK journey thus far.
Sure. So I was born and raised in London, and my ethnic origin is actually from India. And I actually learned much later in life, I would say in my 20s, that I'm a third culture kid, or this term came to my awareness. So just to go back a bit, my grandparents actually left India way back, actually great-grandparents, and when they were born in East Africa. So, they weren't born in East Africa. My parents were born in East Africa and came over to England. So even they were third culture kids. Of course, taking the culture, traditions from India to Africa, and then, mingling, learning the East African languages, and then moving over to England. So when they arrived in England, they already were adult third culture kids, and but British citizens, of course, and myself too. So growing up, I would say I had the curiosity to figure out, who am I? Obviously, people would say I'm Indian, British Indian, yet I'd never been to India. I'd never traveled there, although I could speak the languages and understood the culture and traditions and some of the religions, even though my parents were both mixed religions. So again, it was a question of, who am I? Where do I fit in? And just this curiosity of wanting to explore and get to know the planet kicked in pretty much when I was studying. We didn't actually travel much to India or Africa, because most of the family were already living in the UK or had moved on to different countries. So the movement within my family started very, very early. And I think, that was in me. And so I studied tourism, thinking that how am I going to get to explore the planet and figure out what I want and what my passions are and who I am and where I belong, all these questions that one has. So that was my route, was via tourism. And then I specialized in aviation, air transport management. So doing my master's degree in aviation, which led me to the International Air Transport Association in Switzerland. So that was my first move abroad. And at this point, I would say I just felt excited, so happy to just explore and move and travel. So again, it wasn't a matter of this is home now. Or, no, for me, it was just, let's keep going, and just this excitement of seeing the world and connecting with, who am I? What is it that I want? So trying to figure out my passions along with my identity. And during the time I was actually doing my master's, sorry. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, no worries, no, Talu, I can hear you clearly. All right. Okay. Please, do continue with your background.
Yeah, so and actually, while I was doing my master's, I met my husband, who is German and also a third culture kid because he grew up in Japan. So we connected, and it just felt right, being with somebody who understands two different cultures and seeing two different environments, let's say. So he grew up in Asia, yet grew up at home with a different language, German, and I grew up in England in an English-speaking environment, but at home we spoke Punjabi, Gujarati, and watched Bollywood movies in Hindi. So there was this blending for both of us that helped us come together, and also the desire to explore and live in different countries and travel. So this was pretty much clear for both of us that this is what we want. And since then, we've traveled and lived in various countries. So starting after Switzerland, I actually moved to Indonesia. So I understand the flood. I experienced that while living in Jakarta and having to try and get out of.
Yeah, people like to say that this is our annual tradition.
Yeah.
Not a really good one, but
No. Yeah, no,
that sucks.
yeah, I get that. I know how that feeling. Well, I witnessed it, experienced it, lived there. So we lived in Jakarta for 2 years, and then we moved to Germany. So this was our first time together living in Hamburg, and we were here for 3.5 years, and then we moved to the States. So we were just out of Washington D.C. in Virginia for 3.5 years. And that's where we had our children. So they were born in the US. So, now I'm a mother raising multicultural children that have multiple citizens, and since then we moved to China. So we lived in Beijing for 7 years and came to Germany in 2016. And we're still here. So moving around.
All right. My first question is, I'm sorry, you will definitely be pissed off at me for this. How would you define the term home, and what forms your anchor? So anchor is basically the center of your life, that keeps you sane and grounded. Because I'm fortunate enough, my TCP journey is only with 2 countries, Indonesia and Singapore. I do visited some other countries, but that's more of an holiday basis. So for me, my definition of third culture is because I look for a third one, because I love both my home, but I've never felt a sense of belonging to them. So yes, Talu.
Yeah, great question. No, I'm happy you asked. So for me, home is definitely a feeling. And, having lived in various countries now, it's a matter of, for me right now, being a mother and in a family, my own family, this is home. So, and again, educating the children that they understand that we are home when the 4 of us are together, wherever we are, because they are exposed to moving as well. So they have to understand that, obviously we want them to feel that, they don't have a base home. Right now, we are living in Germany, and this is where we are. We're living in this building, but the home is when the 4 of us come together. And that's what I define home as for me. And this also means, I feel home when I go over to London and I'm with my family as well. So or when I'm traveling and visiting my friends in different countries. So for me, home is where my heart is. And I truly feel you come to a point in life, especially when you're moving and living in different countries. It's also being content with yourself and the awareness that you have, that you can take this feeling wherever you live. And again, also connecting with the people that you leave behind. So it's not about distance. Yeah. I hope that answers your question. For me, it really is where my heart is.
Yeah. All right. No worries. That's actually a really good question. The reason why I asked so is because when we mentioned the term heart here, we all have a different way of interpreting it. Because we, as a TCK, there's the term that was coined in the show, I think in episode 615 or something. So it's the term called global vision. So as I mentioned in the introduction, TCKs tend to view things in a different way. Or when we are in a new environment, there are ways that we just might not accept it. Like, for example, you've lived in Indonesia before. The thing is with the Indonesian is that Indonesians are really, really friendly. they can be too friendly to the point that you might not be too comfortable with it. Like for example, I was in a Gojek once,
Mhm.
go-kart, sorry. So somebody I just met, who is my driver, just asked me, "Hey, are you married?" Within the first 5 minutes, I
Yeah.
remember clearly the conversation was, "Hi, how are you? Are you married?" And I was like, "Excuse me, you
Okay.
know that my own mother doesn't ask me this question, and who are you to ask me that?" And the thing is that the way they try to be part of that conversation, it can be
Mm,
a bit of intrusiveness because
yeah.
they really want to genuinely befriend you. But the thing is
Mm,
that it's just beyond the level of comfort. So
mhm.
yeah, I guess this is something that all of us need to adapt on that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Just to
okay. With regards to this, I actually have a little. Yeah, sorry.
no, yeah, I just wanted to add to that. It's I've experienced similar situations where I'm, in China or in the US and Jakarta, um, where I'm asked certain questions. And, at the time, I probably gave a face where I was like stunned or, really surprised. But now I look back and I think, this was such a learning opportunity of getting to know this other culture and seeing the other perspective. And that's what it is for me now. Yeah. A learning curve.
Okay. Okay, so within the last 5 years, you're back in Hamburg, living with your family, yeah, for 3 years.
Yeah.
Previously, you were in Beijing.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I have to extend this back to the time before you even have children or when your children were born, yeah, because you need to approach this as both a mother,
Yes.
an adult TCK, and an expat. So, in the last 5 years, sorry, I think it's a lot longer than 5 years.
Yes.
What new belief,
I see.
behavior, or habit has most improved your life? With spending time in these multiple cultures, because when you are in their place, you need to adapt to how they think, how they talk, some of
Mm,
their personal style
mm,
of speaking. So, what do you think has improved your life in that regards?
yeah. Another great question. I would say, embracing the language is number one for me. So wherever I've lived, my husband and I, made a point to learn the language. This is how you cross that barrier, and it's the only way. And because most people from England would say, "Oh," and expect everybody to speak English. And initially when I moved to Switzerland, I had that attitude of, "Why isn't everybody speaking?" I mean, obviously Switzerland's very international, and I lived in Geneva, so I kind of had that approach. Well, you should be speaking English to me, and it took me a while to realize, my gosh, what am I doing? This, I can't expect them to just now suddenly, I'm in their country, I am following their rules in a way, so what's going on? So when we moved to Indonesia, my husband and I made a point to learn Bahasa and really integrate and have local friends, connect. So this has been from before having kids, our belief and our way and habit to.
Not to worry about that. Not to worry about that. My Bahasa Indonesia is not that fluent, also, honestly.
True,
My
but
Bahasa Indonesia is not that fluent.
it's not that difficult. That's true. That's true. But it's exactly. It was very easy to pick it up and double up all the words and sama-sama. And so anyway, we had a great time learning the language as well, and it gave us something to do together as well. My husband speaks Japanese, German, English. So here we are. We arrived in Indonesia, and now we're doing something together and connecting with the host country that we're living in. So for me, I would say my biggest giveaway or tip is language. Embrace the language and, come over that bridge where you can now connect, because, and then having this expectation of what they should speak English. I'm sorry, it's not going to get you anywhere if you don't make the effort. So it is important to at least try. and learn the language. So that was one big thing. And of course, embracing cultures, as you said, talking about people, you know, asking things that you wouldn't normally be asked in your country, or saying things, you know, in China, one thing that, you know, was that they're just, there's no filter sometimes. So, you know, they talk about weight as, I'm talking about body weight as it's okay to say you're fat or slim, you know, it was, and this was kind of like, oh, okay, you know, when it's mentioned, it was something which you don't expect, you know. So it's
okay, I'm going to Putong next month. So yeah, that's a good point.
so there was one thing that, you
I'm
know,
going to Putong, Shanghai next month. So, yeah, okay, that's a good idea.
it's, you know, they see it differently. They see it as a sign of wealth, perhaps. So, you know, it depends on their upbringing and what they're used to. So again, we're used to something else, and stepping into that environment, we're now confronted with the way they handle situations or where they address things, and being aware. And I think always understanding, okay, this is not how it is done in my country, but this is how it's done in this country, and I have to accept and understand why. Okay, yeah, and just deal with it, right? So yeah, I guess, and the other thing that, talking about, you know, the other habit, I think the one big thing that I've taken away is practicing gratitude. You know, the grass is not greener on the other side. So with all the moves, I would say, you know, it's important to really be grateful for what you have wherever you are. And that's helped me, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, speaking on the greener pasture on the other side here. So, how do you handle a reverse culture shock when you are back in London, or even when you are ever in India, when you meet those native of your passport or your origin?
Yeah.
How do you handle the reverse culture shock? Because, as I mentioned, with regards to why when you are visiting a new country as a tourist, you're there you will see the tourist vacation spot, you will have a guide. So, well, you experience new food because maybe like you just try out their local cuisine. But the thing is that the keyword there is local. So to the local, this is like what I eat every single day. So I'm sick of it. But to you, since it's a new experience to you, it's like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, how do you have you ever felt there's a reverse cultural shock though, with regards to your passport or even your ethnicity as you are of Indian ethnic? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I haven't actually experienced much of India, unfortunately. That's on my list of things to see and explore. But if I refer back to other Brits that I come in contact with and experience, obviously the people that I'm speaking to know my journey, and they've been kind of part of my journey. So it depends who I'm talking to. If I'm talking to somebody who I've just met, who's British and has not stepped out of the UK, then okay, then I guess for me, what happens at this point is it makes me very, very grateful for the experiences and the awareness that I've achieved along my journey. And again, I would allow the other person I'm talking to actually, you know, give them space to ask me questions. So not brag about experience or you know, because this is something they're not familiar with. So obviously, it's, if they're interested, they're going to ask me questions and allow me to give the answer. So it depends on, again, who I'm talking to, who's you know, again, if it's people who know me. But when I go home, when I go back to the UK, and when I'm talking to people living there, for me the biggest thing is, you know, I'm extremely grateful for seeing more and gaining more awareness, and I think those that have, as I said, you know, I'm repeating myself now, but those that have who know me, you know, they I think have also received a new awareness from my journey. So I think it's a matter of, you know, everything's contagious. So whether it's positive or negative, you can spread that awareness. And I think it's an opportunity to help them see something new as well. So, you know, I think it doesn't have to be looked at as a negative impact when you're having a reverse culture shock. I think it can actually help them to see things differently as well, and learn and grow. So yeah, it depends who you're talking to, I would say. I hope that answered that question.
Indeed. No worries about that. Okay. Okay. So I actually want to dive a bit more on your career now. So you are a global happiness coach, yeah? So what validated your decision to become one? And yeah, Talu?
Okay, so as I mentioned, I started my career off in aviation, and along our journey of moving, I've also changed slight direction in my industry. So I've gone from aviation to consulting to marketing to real estate to teaching English. So I wouldn't say I've jumped. I've just gone with the flow. I've gone with what that moment presented as an opportunity for me and purpose. And when I connect those dots, I see it as a moment of where I'm able to interact with people and help them in some form or another, whether it's through teaching English or coaching or consulting. And so when we were living in Beijing and my children were growing up a little bit more or becoming more independent, it gave me the opportunity to think about, okay, so what do I want to do now? And without even realizing, I think I was coaching indirectly. And one of my good friends, actually, who's from Australia, she's also a business coach, and kind of said, well, this could be something, she kind of planted the seed, let's say. So, and that's where it sort of happened. It developed there, where I thought, okay, this is an area that I could actually see myself doing. And having real fulfillment. So for me, my purpose right now, of course, is number one, my family and being there for the children. And now it's my clients. And, I often say to my clients, when you're looking for purpose in the moment right now, I do believe we all have a calling. And again, the purpose can also grow and go into a slightly different direction, but it's tapping into it wherever you are at that moment. And I think right now I'm in a place where, if you're doing something you love, that is what you should be doing more of, right? And indeed, I get that fulfillment when I inspire a client or can help them see clarity in a situation where they're unable to see. Because my coaching is more a space where my clients see through a mirror. So I'm actually allowing them to hear what they're saying and discovering on their self-discovery journey. And it is highlighting, of course, many factors. So first of all, their purpose and how to find fulfillment, which all ends up being happiness, right? At the end of the day, we all want to feel good.
Yep.
and we feel good when we're doing things that we love to do. And people don't realize this, or they're not tapped into that. And so working with a coach can give you that direction and clarity. And yeah, was there another question attached to that? I'm trying to go back to it. About
please, this is really fascinating.
Yeah, my career. So and actually before I started coaching, I was also an expatriate consultant, so helping families that moved to Beijing, sort of giving them the know-how, because we were there for so long. So, really understanding what people are going through, connecting with people. That's what I love to do.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. With regards to this career that you're currently doing, yeah. Have you ever encountered doubters and criticism? Maybe the thing is this in an era of social media whereby people naturally feels the need to compete, because when you see somebody who is incredibly good at it, maybe they're on vacation at some place in the world taking beautiful photos and stuff, or maybe somebody who is maybe a colleague of yours is doing somewhere
Yeah.
better in life. Maybe they
Yeah.
managed to settle down a lot earlier than you, and they are already doing well in your career. Yeah.
Mm.
So have you ever encountered such people who, if they don't achieve this,
Mm.
they don't feel happy about it,
Mm.
and as a result, they feel that your practice does not work for them.
Mm. So there's two parts to that, I would say. I think first of all, yes, I believe, we have an inner critic and we have an inner champion, and the moment doubt kicks in is when we're listening to the inner critic, and that comes, of course, when you're scrolling through Instagram or going through magazines, and you're triggered to think, "Oh my gosh, I'm not good enough." And this is a moment where, if you have the tools and you work with a coach, or you know that you are good, and on the other side, as a coach, I believe everybody has their niche, and when we're able to tap into that, um, that's all we need, right? We're standing on that mountain, heading towards that niche, and of course we're attracting that. So it is a matter of owning what you really want to do, and having the tools to not allow your inner critic to feed you with more doubt, and really understanding, okay, what is my truth? Who am I about? Who am I supposed to target? And whatever job that is that you want to do, to find the purpose. So yeah, I would say, yeah, definitely. Myself, of course, I have doubts. I'm just started up. So I started coaching last year, and I would have similar doubts, and I know now when they kick in. So if I see other coaches are doing they're more successful, or they're doing things differently. I guess what I often do is do a ABC, I call it. So A is to just get my awareness where I am at that moment, and B, to take a deep breath, and C is to really understand, to what choice am I going to make here right now, and really tap into who I am and what I want to do. So it's not about being the same as that person, even though my inner critic is saying, "Why aren't you doing that? You're not doing enough." Or so it is finding the tools how to manage and find the balance, especially when you're starting up something new. So myself, definitely, it is part of life. Life is 50-50, and it will remain that way. We have the good, we have the bad, we have the positive, we have the negative. So it's, what you choose to do in that moment.
Indeed, indeed.
Mm.
I actually started this podcast years ago. Actually, it's not years ago. It's around September last year.
Mm-hmm.
But the work in progress was actually from January 2019. So, before I say this, I'm not trying to criticize anybody here or any kind of nationality, since, well, I create a podcast for people to understand multiracial. So there's no way I'm trying to insult anyone. So I actually had an unfortunate working relation with an employer of mine who is actually from the UK. Again, I'm not trying to insult a British. The thing is this: he is not by any means a horrible man or a bad boss. He's a really, really good guy. It was really enjoyable working with him.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think you can attest to this yourself. Sometimes when a British is joking, or when they're saying something, they could have there is a sense of sarcasm inside it. I think it's called dry sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
So as a result, it causes a lot of misunderstanding, not only within the
Absolutely.
internal staff, but also with our potential clients.
Yeah.
So, and again, like I said, he's actually by no means a bad boss. He's really enjoyable. In
Yeah.
fact, I can honestly say he's the best boss I've ever worked with.
Mm.
However, first is that because of how a culture was never set up, and we started business in Singapore, I think in around October the 15th,
Mm-hmm.
which is a really bad time to start something. It's because
Mm-hmm.
everybody's on their off leave, their the key decision maker is gone. So pretty much we will never get anything out of it,
Mm-hmm.
and it will have to be postponed to the following year. And I don't know about this personally, but when you're working with a British employer, they have a high, they expected a quick result. I can't really attest to this, but this is from what I know of those who work in this capacity, and I do experience it. So yeah, as a result, we actually lost a potential deal worth around like $40,000 or something. So yeah, I do get where you're coming from with this. It's because as when we understand multiple cultures, we start to see the ups and downs, and we see certain characters that help us to feel better. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Is
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So, how would you want to advise those, though, maybe from your birth country, UK, or even your original roots of Indian ethnics, or uh, I believe there was a South African inside it. That was your grandparents, yeah? Or was it your parents?
Actually, my grandparents went to East Africa, but they're all originally from India. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Okay, how would you advise those two of your two backgrounds? And of course, if you want to, you can add in all the countries that you have lived in to succeed and interact with people outside of their own national border or fence. It's because, as you have experienced yourself, like when you're in Indonesia, you learn Bahasa Indonesia because by speaking Bahasa, you are able to integrate better with the locals. So, how would you advise this?
Yeah, exactly. I think, as I said before, you know, the best way is, of course, to understand the language and embrace that language and really take it on. Of course, for some people, it can be quite challenging to learn another language or not their interest. But, you know, again, if you want to make that connection, why do we start already with they should expect them to understand my language, right? If we all make that little effort, so whether it's somebody who is sitting in East Africa or in India or in China, if we all make that little effort, that's all it takes. And we've already crossed that fence, you know, we've already come together. Now we know how to say hello, we know how to exchange. And those are the first steps. And we actually come to understand that we're all human beings, right? So, and yes, we've been brought up with different ways. And how exciting to learn and you know, get that awareness. So I think, again, the first step is learning the language. And also what you put out there is what is going to come back. So how do you want to be treated? You know, is something that one has to bear in mind when they're moving abroad. So is this how you would treat somebody, you know? So ask yourself that question as well. So I think, so I'm just trying to think of somebody who's sitting in India, who's sitting in China, and they're about to leave. Of course, they're going to be quite scared and they're going to be worried that people won't understand them. You know, if you put yourself in somebody else's situation, so always seeing it from the other perspective and knowing that they're also probably feeling vulnerable as well. You know, and again, if we all take that step forward towards coming together and embracing something that's change, it's going to help all of us in the end. So yeah, language. Language is key, I would say. And of course, the ability to want to learn not only language, but the way things are done differently. So seeing it through a different perspective, which will help definitely make the experience an experience which, you know, is a lasting experience. You're going to learn so much and grow from that. Like, I have so many beautiful memories of you know, friends from Indonesia, experiences in China, and of course English-speaking countries. Okay, it's different, but still, even Switzerland. So yeah, and Germany too. So again, another place where, you know, I had to learn the language, even though my husband's German. For me, it was a new language, and I had to integrate. And same thing, how to get along with living in this environment, especially when you've lived abroad for so long in different countries, how to integrate back here. And again, having that mindset of treating people with the way you want to be treated. Number one, kindness, right? So obviously you would, and then you've already interacted, and then you see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. So with regards to what you mentioned, do you feel this actually applies to how you interact with a monocultural also? So the thing is this, if you have ever looked at the TCK group pages, there has been more than one individual who would say that they have a horrible, or if not, they have a failed relationship with those who are of monocultural background. So basically, it's somebody from their host country, whether it's through dating or whether it's as a friend. You are really fortunate enough because for your case, as you mentioned, is your husband and both you and your husband are TCKs, currently adult TCKs. So as a result, both of you have a similar frequency to do that. So how would you advise somebody who is dating a TCK, or even somebody who grew up overseas though? How would you advise this individual?
Yeah, I also think that there are challenges no matter who you're with in a relationship, whether it's somebody who is from the same background or, somebody who has grown up with totally different experiences. So again, it's not greener on the other side, but there are tools to manage and be used to help you along that journey. And I think being flexible with definitely if you're dating somebody who's a third culture kid, and understanding that, for them, home may mean something else, as opposed to somebody who has been, raised and grew up in one place and is from that country. So that's one factor. And of course, the third culture kid may feel that, home is like me, home is where my heart is. It could be everywhere. And so being flexible is definitely something you have to keep in mind already in the beginning of a relationship, that things are not always going to be eye to eye. But again, it's never going to be the same with whoever you're with. So, this perception that, oh my gosh, it's going to be much harder now because we're seeing somebody who's a nomad or a TCK, that is our belief right now. But actually, you're seeing another human being. You're dating another human being, and that means there's going to be differences no matter what. So if you just start this relationship, first of all, as you would approach it with anybody else, being flexible, being open, and communicating, and of course being patient, because obviously you have differences, so you need to be able to communicate, have understanding, accept, and have patience, and of course you're going to learn a lot from this as well. So it's such a great opportunity. And I think when I look at my kids and I think, they are American, British, German citizens right now, and if you ask them, where are you from?
Do you speak Japanese too?
Pardon? Do I?
Does your kids speak Japanese too?
No,
do they speak Japanese?
They speak Mandarin.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mandarin. Yeah.
Oh, they should teach me then. That I've been needing to improve my Mandarin.
Yeah, sure. I could teach you. Yeah, we studied Mandarin.
Don't worry. I just did a convert.
So.
Okay. 可以帮我吗？
你好吗？你什么时候去北京？你什么时候去北京？上海。
现在还不知道啊。可是现在我们准备就是在2月。
OK， 你告诉我你什么时候去，然后我们可以说中文，好吗？
好吧，谢谢。
好。
Okay. I actually have
Indonesian now. Oh, it's great, isn't it? It's wonderful.
I'm good. Yeah. Believe it or not, I'm much more comfortable speaking in either English or Mandarin as compared to Bahasa. What a pretty sad irony. Oh, well.
And that's such an easy language.
Oh, I think that.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay. I actually have one more question, but
Yeah,
before that, I actually want to address. I will actually want to highlight. Maybe there's somebody here who actually want to ask a question.
sure.
It's Mr. Naim Khan Barak. Let me just show the comment to you. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So
Oh, I missed
Mr.
that.
Naim asks. Oh, sorry about that.
How to make the
Are you able to say it,
fluency the
Talu?
best? Yes, I can. How to make the fluency the best?
Okay.
Ah, okay. So
I think
in
he is
learning
asking
languages.
how to improve your fluency
Exactly.
for when you're speaking.
Correct. So my big tip is not
Yeah.
worrying too much about that. You know, I make mistakes all the time, whatever language I'm speaking, all the time. But you know, the other person understands what I'm saying and the context. So of course, if you are a perfectionist or you feel, you know, you want to say fluently, of course, the best way is to speak to local people and watch movies in the local language, listen to podcasts, you know, and daily improve on it. But honestly, just speak. Don't be afraid. The only way to communicate is by trying, and you know you can't be held back on making mistakes. Otherwise, you've lost the moment. So you know, again, whatever language I'm using,
Or one other way is dating a local.
pardon. Or
Another way that I've actually discovered is to date a local.
yes, that's
And this
right.
actually does help because you do have to speak.
That's right. You have to speak. Exactly. Yeah. In my case, you know, we had local staff. So our driver or, you know, the Pembantu, the helper. So, and, you know, this is always a way to practice for me. And of course, if you're working, again, using the advantage of trying to speak in the local language with your colleagues. So there's always an opportunity, but then, you know, also not worry about making mistakes. And with anything, it takes time to practice anything, whatever you learn to do, whatever thing you're doing, whether you're learning a language or you're learning a new skill, everything takes time. I mean, they say you have to do it at least 10,000 times, right, before you can actually do something. So obviously you've got to give it time, be patient with yourself, and don't worry about the mistakes. Just let it out. Just speak. Yeah.
Mr. Naim, I hope that answers your question. Okay, so my last question is this. So, Talu, how would you advise somebody who is at the crossroads of their life or they're about to enter the real world? By real world, maybe they just graduated from college, they don't know what career they want to do. Do you have any books or video that you recommend, or even from your personal life story?
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh. So this is actually an area that I am hoping to tap into more, is helping the younger generation. Being a mum myself, I feel like, you know, if most of us are tapped into what we are called to do or, you know, what we love to do. And this is actually a framework that I love to use. It's called Ikigai. And it is trying to find direction in your life with what you're passionate about. So aligning yourself with that. So if you're at a point in your life where you feel, you know, what happens is we end up following what parents they tell us that we should study or do, or what society expects from us. Whereas, you know, and also what we think, you know, oh, if you want to be an artist, you think, oh, well, it's going to be tough. You start doubting yourself. You know, nowadays, anything is possible. And I think it's important to understand, if you're graduated already, just go with the flow with where you're at and what you love to do. So whether it is traveling, just go and explore and see where the opportunities take you. And if you're about to study something or you're not sure or you're unstuck, I would say, you know, just start to home in on what is it that you love to do. Like, you know, we spend so much time working. Surely we need to be love what we're doing, right? So this is like a question we tend not to ask, because we start with studying something 4 years ago and we thought, well, you know, I actually was curious and I thought, okay, I might as well do accounting, or I might as well become a doctor, or, you know, whatever. Obviously that direction has come from somewhere and it's led you down a path. And also not being so hard on yourself. journey changes, and your purpose changes in many ways, but it's all connected in a way. So I think if you're able to just say today what you'd love to do, that is your direction. That is your direction, and that is your calling, and then who knows where that's going to lead you. So just tap into that. What is it that you love to do? That's where your happiness is.
Indeed. I can actually relate to this clearly. I actually graduated with a business law degree, which in Indonesia is actually would translate to a notary-based work. But while my interest in that was actually out of respect for my dad, who wanted to be a lawyer when he was younger, and I do have a certain level of affinity to it. It's not something that I wanted to do. In fact, I actually utilized this platform not only as a multicultural idea and as a way to spread awareness, and at the same time, it's a tool for younger TCK to actually tune in, because if we have experienced it when we were younger, at that time, none of us knows what is going on with us. And in fact, I think a lot of us, where if we have parents who are monocultural, we tend to have a lot of arguments, is because they have their own set of ways of thinking, and for us, we have I don't want to say develop, but we actually adapt a different kind of perspective because of how our environments are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is something that I agree with.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, a lot of us have that pressure, and we start living other people's expectations, but we're not really actually tapping into our own. So, we are in a place where we're able to see that now. And I think in the end, they would want to support us and want us to be happy, right? So, it's a matter of spreading that awareness.
Yeah, Talu is a mother, everyone. So please follow what she said on this. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, that is actually my last question. So before I end the broadcast here, I need to give a little shout out to Mr. Ivan Rianto Gunawan, who sent us a like, Mr. Naim, who sent us the heart emoji, and at the same time actually dropped us a really good question on this. So thank you so much for tuning in to Global Citizens. So if any one of you are interested to talk to Talu a little bit more on her practice, or maybe you are trying to find your own sense of purpose within for yourself in order to progress in life, do reach out to her. I've put in all her LinkedIn and her other social links on the description box. And there's also one other thing is that I believe she was interviewed by Expat Hour recently.
Right.
Yeah, who is actually a future guest of mine.
Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't manage to get the link on that. If you be kind enough, maybe you can send it to me. I'll just put it inside the description box. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Great.
And yeah. So with that, fantastic. All right.
Great.
And with that, that's the end of Global Citizens episode 27. Hope every one of you guys enjoy your day, and bye bye.
Thank you. We're still
You're
live.
most welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity and spreading awareness.